Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with two comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. I know what you're thinking. Where's the bean? Well, we're all being safely distanced from each other because this week, all over the world, COVID's wreaking havoc. So we have instigated a let's not be together in the same room so we're all healthy. So we can all be up at the store and sell you comic books without making anybody sick. So that's what's going on right now. Hi, I'm Miss Jen, and I read all of these books and more that you can't see. Just a heads up for all of you kiddos out there hoping for your comic book haul this week. It appears that Diamond has another 3-day backlog on transportation issues. So if your local comic shop doesn't pick up their stuff directly from the hub, they may have their books 2 to 3 days later than normal, which I don't think makes them as late as they were this last week because it ran it into New Year's Eve, which meant that we didn't get them until Monday. But it does mean that probably your local comic shop won't have them on the shelf until maybe Friday morning or so. But just keep them in the loop, talk to them, and be patient with them because they really can't do anything about it. It really is a transportation issue they have nothing to do with. But the good news is that comic book stores should have gotten all of their Marvel in DC already in their shop, so it'll be ready for you tomorrow morning. And some of them even get their books directly from companies like Scout or Source Point, and they may have those in their stores already also. So do not despair. There's so many good books to read. This may be just the week to give you a break on your pocketbook for one time. All right. So I'm going to turn it so I can see comments. I'm in the wrong thing for that. There it comes. Okay. Hi, y'all. We're going to talk about, normally I don't get to read any of the DC. You guys remember that Bean gets to be the DC person. So today I'm a super lucky girl. So I got to read Superman, Son of Kal-El, which I didn't really know what was going on other than John and Jay got together. I didn't know until I read this issue that Jay Nakamura, which is his new sweetie, actually has some kind of abilities. He's been experimented on in his home state, country, whatever. And he has kind of this power where he's transparent, kind of like Vision goes, where he can make it so that people can't grab onto him because he's not fully there. And that was a kind of a cool revelation. And also in this one, we get a little bit further along in the storyline where we try to figure out. So remember, in his home country, I think mom was the president and was overthrown. And it was unknown whether she was killed in the coup or not. So that talks a little bit more about that and gets you further along. And in this issue, finally, you get to have John's bestie, Robin, kind of get together with them to solve something that's going on in the city. And it's clear that maybe Robin knows what's going on. And that's really cute to see his friend be supportive of him. So there you go. Superman, Son of Kal-El. That is number 6 out this week. Also, this is a great jump on spot for Batman Detective Comics. This one is number 1047. It's written by Tamaki. It also has part 1 of House of Wayne is a backup story, which I didn't notice, so I didn't read it, and I apologize. But this one is a storyline called Tower of Good and Evil. So this deals with Arkham Tower. And it appears that there is a doctor that is there that has said that they can totally heal or I don't know, do something to make the crazy people that are there that are super dangerous, that they can make it so that they're not anymore. And they kind of demonstrate that. They have like a press junket kind of release where they have people there, and he demonstrates it by having a previously like terrifying bad guy there, and takes off his manacles and said, look, he's just fine. We've got him cured. And then it kind of weirdly jumps forward in time to the whole world, or at least the city. It looks like it's ending. So I don't know if it took so well as he thinks. So great story. Pick that up if you are into Batman. All right, this one's awesome. This is Dark Knights of Steel, number 3. So this one is, the storyline is that Superman actually left, and his family all left his home planet before it was destroyed, which actually gets them to Earth much earlier in our history. So they're in medieval times. And so in the first issue, I think we see, hey, Ming, how are you doing, man? I think they see in the first issue that Clark's parents are the king and queen. And there are other warring countries, including this king here. And you've got another kingdom, which is, of course, run. Themyscira, almost nothing has changed, right? Because they're just still in their same, like, we rule ourselves only. So here in this issue, and this is a spoiler alert, so stick your fingers in your ears for if you don't want to know what happened in issue 1 or 2. But it looks like in issue 1 or 2 that Superman's dad, who is the king, has been killed. And this one's kind of like chasing down who is the person who did it. Someone's been actually accused of doing it. And there's other characters that are trying to say that that's not possible. It doesn't say who does it, of course, but it's really great. It's furthering the story a lot. This is my first read of this book, so it's kind of cool to see the characters and what they've put them in. So it's really all those DC characters, but put them into medieval times. So like Harley is the court jester, which it makes sense when you see her, you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. So it's interesting to see what roles they've put them into. This is a lot of fun. I know that issue 1 completely sold out when it was released, so it might be a little bit tricky to track it down, but maybe there's a second print coming up soon. I'll have to look that up for you guys. And jumping a little bit here to Marvel. It's going to jump around this week. Amazing Spider-Man number 84, which is still that storyline Beyond, which has been running every single week. You know, it's kind of, when they first said that they were going to do a weekly book for Amazing Spider-Man, I was like, that's kind of a lot, right? It's a lot of story coming at you. It's a lot to ask of pocketbooks. But the story's actually been so good that I've been like, well, this is kind of like watching a weekly binge show, right? We wouldn't want to wait forever for like a month for the next episode of The Witcher or whatever. So this is kind of like a binge watch for the Spider-Man. And in this one, it is very Doc Ock focused. He kind of shows up and creates havoc with Ben himself, because Ben Reilly is in the Spider-Man suit. Ben's trying to have a date with his girl, gets called out of that. because it never ends. The responsibilities of Spider-Man, even when you're owned by a corporation, is probably even worse, right? Because they make you come and do all the time. So he shows up, and there's a big twist at the end about his involvement. And I really love always Doc Ock. I especially like him more because of his appearance in the movies recently. I remembered how much I like his character. He's a very sympathetic character, but very powerful. Okay. Marvel has been doing these cool Black, White, and Blood series. They did it for, I think, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Carnage, maybe? I don't know if there's any more than that, but they usually have 3 stories in them or 4 stories in them. And the only theme is that they have the theme that's either Black, White, or Blood, or all put together. And in this case, it's all of them are gorgeous. This is actually a John Romita Jr. cover. Stunning, yes. But it has stories in it by Charles Soule, Declan Shalvey, and Romero. And they are all amazing. I will say my 2 favorites are the first 2. The first one has a vampire theme that goes with it. And the second one was a theme. Oh, this one is there's a almost like a mob situation where she shows up to go after a mob boss who has a kind of like is using his daughter as kind of like a shield, but the daughter is not helpless, if that makes any sense. So all 3 tales are really great. These books are awesome because you don't have to really know anything about the character or even have read comic books ever before, because they're, hey, how are you doing? That they all are self-contained storylines. So even if you just wanted to get this number 1 issue, you can enjoy it and enjoy the art, because really for these, the art is one of the big selling points. I think that maybe if we could hunt down the original pages, you'd want every single one of them for these. But they're so good. I think I like this one even more than the other ones that they've done, honestly, because it makes sense for her character very much to do that. Oh, and I forgot, the last one is so good because it's like starts out, the whole tale is kind of like more mundane, kind of like introspective narration from her, and she just running around kicking butt. But the way that it all brings it all together in those last 2 pages, I almost wanted to be like, until I got to those last 2 pages, and I was like, oh, it's so brilliant. All right, another amazing finish up to a story this week. There have been 6 books in the Darkhold series. They were like Darkhold, Black Bolt, Darkhold Spider-Man. I can't remember the other Darkholds, but they have introduced the most dark versions of all of those characters and the storylines. And this is the Omega. So this one finishes out the storyline. And it turns out that really, I hope all of you guys have actually watched finally the Scarlet Witch and Vision show to see the final scene, like the cut scene at the very end, which, cover your ears if you don't want to know, seems to show the Darkhold, which is an actual ancient book of power that most people go mad to read it, but Dr. Doom has successfully controlled for a long time. And that's what this story is dealing with, that the Darkhold has been seeming to have power over Scarlet Witch, which she would like to have back. By the way, if you've not figured out yet that the Scarlet Witch is the most powerful person in all of Marveldom, then you aren't paying attention really well. Like those lists, I don't know if you've ever seen the list where it's like it has pick your team, you have 20 points, and I don't know, for a long time they had Scarlet Witch with 1 point value. I'd be like, I'll take 20 Scarlet Witches and all you guys would be dead. Of course, Hunky Monkey. Oh, I don't know, is this Saturday round 3? Let me look. I'll get my producer together with you. All right. So in this one, it really does bring together all those characters that you saw in the other issues. And you see that Scarlet Witch has been kind of making them so that she can send them off to the other realm where I'm not going to remember this bad guy's name. They talk about him all the time. The person that spoke the book into existence. So she throws them into this other dimension to go and take care of him. And this is really cool how this all works out. So, wait till you see what happens. Wait to see how it happens. So don't miss Darkhold. Even if you haven't really read any of the other ones, you're okay. I've told you everything you really need to know. You can go and find this Omega and enjoy it. Don't miss it, though. Oh, and here's another book that I'm telling you right now that issue number 1, I was like, and so this is Captain America Iron Man number 2. So the number 1 I fully read, and I was like, this seems like a nonsensical book with no purpose that they just made to make me spend my money, even though I like Iron Man and Captain America, and they have these gorgeous Ross covers. So I will tell you that this makes it all very clear what is going on for these. Okay, so I don't know if you'll remember the 50 state initiative that was enacted, in which this is in the past books, where they intended to have a full team of Avenger type heroes that were slated for each state, and that they could work independently and protect their state, and that would be much more easy than trying to guard an entire universe or whatever. So some of those characters and people like Vox, I don't know if you remember Vox, he's a cool looking character, and Think Tank, and man, I'm not gonna remember all of them. Pioneer, goodness. So there's a group of, I think, about 5 of them that you're introduced to in the first book, but it's become clear that they're trying to be their own hero group, but they're not really very coordinated about it yet. And this book makes it very clear what they're up against. And Tony and Steve kind of like step in behind the scenes to try to prevent what's a much bigger thing at stake. If you can hunt down a number 1 and change your mind about like just another book, I think number 2 is going to make people go a little bit crazy this week and try to hunt it down. My real hope is that you will pick it up and give this one a chance. I'm glad I read the number 2, because otherwise I would have still been in the well, great, and just a book. It's not just a book. Okay. Here we go. This is Batman number 119. It also has a story in it, a Gotham Academy adventure, which I did not read. Full disclosure. So this one focuses in on Abyss. So if you've been reading this series, you know that Abyss has been killed, and they've got the body of Abyss in the morgue, which it's got so really complex in this book because Batman really needs to like check out the body, and that doesn't really work out the way anyone thinks it's going to. It's unclear to me, honestly, after reading it, if maybe Abyss is actually dead and has left something with his body to mess with Batman, or if he was not dead and in fact this is a body decoy. Who knows? But either way, both circumstances mean this is the most awesome and has a very great like cliffhanger end page. So if you're into the cliffhangers, this is a really great book. I've been enjoying whenever I get to jump in and read a little bit of DC. I've been liking it. Okay. This is... Oh, I've knocked down a book. Good thing it landed flat. All right, this is part of our Source Point Press stuff that we get straight from Source Point Press because so I'm just making you aware that the release schedule for your store might be different than ours because we get them all at once. So some of these might have come out for your store a couple weeks ago, or it's coming out next week or this week. I just didn't want you to be like, why is she reviewing this book this week? This week got them now. This is Rise of Dracula number 1. by our friend Richard Davis, and is the second series in his, at least, I think they're going to make this 6-issue long middle series. So really two triplets, I guess. And then there'll be, there's a follow-up triplet at the very end. So I might, Chris. I might. So Rise of Dracula is it takes on the storyline later. I thought it was going to be like an earlier, like Rise of Dracula happens before, but it's not. This happens after the events of Cult of Dracula, which just ended. So Rise of Dracula deals with a society in which the vampires have completely taken over America. So, and maybe the world, who knows? But this only really deals with America. It shows the Capitol building and all those kinds of things. So, you get to see the brides of Dracula again, and you get to see that they're not all working toward what the greater Dracula storyline is for. But it's a pretty dark look at what, like, if vampires took over, what they would do, including how they would start to see humans, which they start to call food. And they don't have prison camps, they have farms. And this one takes that violence that was in the Cult of Dracula and ramps it way up. So much ramping. This is definitely not for kids. Don't put it around for kids. Kids are going to have their brains melted by it. Lots of blood and gore, and probably the way actual vampires would do. This one, I don't know if you guys remember, we had for Cult of Dracula a complete variant set that was by Kayla Valerio, and here she is. She's making the cover A for this book, so I'm kind of happy I turned them on to such a great talent. Kayla Valerio has done a great many of our variants, and I think you're going to start to see them as cover artists for a lot of regular books or for their variants, because it's so stinking good. All right, and Have You Been a Good Boy? From Garrett Gunn and Dr. Christy Blanche and Kit Wallace, and the awesome lettering of Lentz. This is Good Boy number 2. And I don't even know if this is the A cover or the B cover. So we had so many people add it to their pull boxes that we don't have a lot of extra. This is the B. Okay. So this is also a reminder to make sure you stay in touch with your local comic shops and make sure you tell them what you want to have on your pull boxes, even more than you would normally, like if you wanted to have, if you'd like to go in and find things on the shelf. Just know that the amount of books on the shelves is going to be real tight, at least for the next couple of months, as there is a paper shortage going on and people are tightening up their orders. So if you have it on your pull box, you'll for sure get it. If you're going to walk into a local comic shop and pick them up, it might not be there because people might have added it to their pull boxes and there might not be any for the rack. So be nice to your LCS. They're doing the very best with what they have for information. If you tell them, knowledge is power. All right, Good Boy number 2 still follows our hero / anti-hero Flint Sparks, as he is trying to hunt down everyone that's been involved in his good friend John Sparks' death. We're starting to get introduced to other named characters and their relationships to John. There's a letter that's found along with some weapons that have been gifted to Flint that mention some people's names, or I don't know, they could be puppy dogs' names, that are related to both of them as some kind of maybe family members or love interests. We're not 100% certain. They could be their kids. I don't know. And that's part of the fun of this book, is you don't know who they are, how they're related, but we're just totally going to find out as we roll along in this series. I don't ever want it to end. Never, ever. And it is such good art by Kit Wallace. So stunning. So good. If you are not familiar with Good Boy, it's a book that kind of took the inspiration of John Wick and said, what if the John Wick universe was reversed and the dog was actually the one that was the person that had to do all of the vengeance, and the human was the one that died. And so here you go. You get a very serious, very, very R-rated look just like the book or the movie is. Very violent. Super surprising book. I did not know was coming at me, and I got to add it to my poll. Blood on Sunset is so good. So this takes place during mob rule, I would guess. It feels very crime noir. This girl calls up this guy who I'm unsure if he's like an actual detective or a detective on the take, bad cop, unknown, still trying to figure it out. Calls him up and says that a very famous mobster who she was dating, has been killed. And the crime scene is just, he's like disemboweled and his face has been ripped off. And in that first scene or so, they start talking about, could this be an eater that showed up? Well, what's an eater? Well, we don't know. So all of a sudden it goes from being very moody crime noir to being like, oh, is there some kind of supernatural element to this book? And that's when it gets really, really cool. And the art is all amazing. It's just the same kind of art that's on the front cover. And the other cool thing that's going on is the main character has what appears to be another person that is with him that no one else can see. Who, I don't know if he's undead, if he's a ghost, if he's a figment of his imagination. It's another aspect of his personality. I don't know. But I'm in for the ride. Rob Owens, what's up? Hook 'em horns and, I don't know. And Hank. I'm not any good at either of those, so I'm sorry if I messed up. And not to miss, oh my gosh, we should have known better. It's Donny Cates writing Thor. We should have known a second part of anything was going to be full of all the things we needed. Okay, so this is issue number 20. And this says God of Hammers Part 2. God of Hammers Part 2. Okay, so Thor's been having this problem where I don't think he rules anymore. His dad certainly doesn't. And he's also not in control of Mjolnir anymore. So this has gotten crazy. They've started to hear these rumors about what was previously thought to be just a fictitious or part of old lore of a person or being called God of Hammers, which I'm sure is taken from the movie when they say, "Are you God of Hammers?" So it turns out there is an actual God of Hammers. This is not playing around with it. So this is definitely a first appearance book. There's a full first appearance on the last page. I'm going to let you read it so you can get a good idea of how they show up and how powerful they are. It's about to get real for Thor. Not like he's already hasn't gone through a lot recently. He's gone through so much daggum stuff. But don't miss picking up Thor because, especially if you're a first appearance person. All right, and I'm going to show you guys some trade paperbacks that are available. I did not read the trade paperback, of course, because that's a lot of reading. But I did read some of the actual books for. So for Source Point Press, consider this awesome trade paperback. It's called Runes. And it's Son of the Black Wolves. Okay, so I'm going to read you the solicitation copy on the back because those are usually good. So this is an 850 CE in Alba, present-day Scotland. It's at night. A storm rages across the great sea, and a Viking drakkar is shipwrecked against the cliffs. The only prisoner on the ship, a Northman, miraculously manages to escape, fleeing from its past, from unforgiving nature, and armed only with luck. This man moves into the clearings of the coast. He's a foreigner and hated in his land. The skilled Viking warrior will clash with the inhabitants of Alba, while a powerful witch watches him, fighting for his life, surviving for revenge. So here you go. This is a Viking in the wrong place. Viking in Scotland. Let's see how that all works out. And as this has already been previously printed as individual books, I'll show you what the art style looks like. It's really nice. Darling, also from Source Point, was released. This is kind of a heartbreaking book. The creator of this book drew on the relationship of him and his brother, who struggled with substance abuse for a long time. That pain, drew on that pain to write this book. So says, here's what the pitch says. Find the girl, save your life. It's going to be a long night. With all of New York City searching for an 8-year-old girl, down and out drug addict Frances Darling accidentally stumbles onto the machinations behind her kidnapping and the drug war that ensues. Can he stay straight long enough to find her? So got a kidnapping, and the main character has a struggle with substance abuse, and it is a cool book, yo. So that's what the art style looks like for that book. And of course, I love those kinds of books because anything that feels like true crime, I am about. And if you are wanting to get into Naomi the show on CW, they put together this trade paperback for you at DC, so you can learn about her before you start watching the show. Yeah. This one, learning the truth about her heritage will turn Naomi's life upside down. Can she learn to control her uncanny new abilities and come to terms with her strange new place in the world before it's too late? So this one is a really great trade paperback and has the actual photo cover, so you get to see what the actors looks like. Also releasing this week, some cool new manga. This one is called Into the Deepest, Most Unknowable Dungeon. Continuing with our trend of having the longest titles known to man. So this one says that it's there is one place that has without question. There's a glare. There's one place that has withstood attempts at every army to conquer it. The city-sized labyrinth known as the deepest, most unknowable dungeon. But now, after dying on Earth as a young temp worker, John is reborn into the world with a fascination for its most infamous dungeon. With a fight training and the most carefully chosen set of lustful comrades in arms, he may have the chance to accomplish the impossible and become a legend in a new fantasy world. There you go. And another number one, I think. Yes. Okay. And this one says, My Isaki Life. I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world. That really is the title of the book, y'all. Look at that. How long is that book? That's a huge long thing. Says, whether at home or in the office, corporate drone Yuri Sano does nothing but work. Then one day, his home PC flashes an invitation to another world. Doubtful, Yuji restarts his computer only to find that he has inadvertently accepted the summons. Alone in a fantasy realm, far removed from his daily grind, Yuri yearns for one thing, waking up from what he believes to be a dream and getting back into the mountain of work he left behind. But this strange place has other plans for Yuji, who quickly discovers that he is a monster tamer capable of befriending slimes. Thanks to their large number, these goopy critters help him absorb so much magical knowledge that he gains a second character class in the blink of an eye. How will Yuji wield his power now that he's the greatest sage the world has ever known? And what about all that paperwork? Looks like it's a Square Enix related book, so probably has a video game related to the book. What else is coming out this week? Marvel puts out these really awesome books that are what I call it's not digest size, scholastic size. So it's not quite comic book size and not tiny. They're perfect for pockets. This one is the one for Morbius, and it has a bunch of collections in it. Amazing Spider-Man 101 and 102 from 1963. Marvel 2-in-1, number 15. Morbius, Bond of Blood, and material from Spider-Man Family number 5. So this is a good primer for Morbius the character, and at a really cheap price point. They make these always at $10. So even though you're thinking to yourself, man, I sure want to have a bigger book, that is a perfect size. And it's a 10 and up book. So it's going to be the most family friendly version of that character. this is in plastic, so I can't read it. No. Okay. This one is found footage number 2 from Behemoth. I really loved found footage number 1. It was amazing. What is found footage number 2 going to be about? This is in the late 90s. The broadcast of an afternoon live show is interrupted by the news about a man who threatens to take his own life in front of the channel's building. This event has tragic consequences for everyone in that studio. Based on actual events, found footage is an immersive experience of horror and gore. So based on stuff that happened, this is a big hostage situation that happens inside the studio. Again, true crime. I love it. Oh, here's a good way, and probably the only inexpensive way to get Young Avengers, because there's so many first appearances in Young Avengers that all of them have become really expensive, including stuff that's tied to the Hawkeye stuff. So they've got this new collection that collects the 2013 series of 1 through 15, and Marvel Now .1, which, like I told you, .1 is a very important book. It has important things in it for the future. Okay. Hey, from Aftershock, you can read as a collected edition, The Girls of Dimension 13. Might have gotten lost a little bit during the pandemic here as it's been coming out. And there were a lot of other really great books coming out from Aftershock at the time, so you might have missed it. I'm going to give you the pitch just in case you want to pick this up now that it's all collected. 4 young women are brought together by a mysterious invitation to live in a creepy building in New York. They soon learn that the building houses a portal to other 12 known dimensions, and a malevolent creature known as an Abraxas has found these dimensions together, enslaving them to his will. For centuries, the portal has been guarded by a gatekeeper to prevent all the evil on the other side from gaining access to our dimension. Now the gatekeeper, Anna Nightlinger, is missing, and the only thing standing in Abraxas' way is a quartet of young women with powers and abilities that don't even know they have for now. So that one's a really great book. I could be down with that. And we got in some good Zenoscope. Here is a reminder that Zenoscope, despite what it looks like, because it always has like girls with just like really great outfits on the outside, you might think that they're just puff piece books, but they are totally not. They are strong female protagonist books. I, as a female, think they're amazing. And I'm not offended by their cool outfits. I always want them anyway. So Tarot, if you want to know what that is about, in case you're considering it, says a mysterious order of tarot has emerged from the shadows with its sights set on ruling Earth and the realms of power that surround it. With the courts of swords, cups, wands, and pentacles at his command, the Emperor is ready to launch his assault on the Grimm universe. Only one person, Talisman, stands in their way. His light and that of unexpected allies will be all that stands to defend the world as we know it from the descending darkness. It collects tarot. I'm going to show you the really cool art in these. There you go. These are amazing, amazing books. Although tarot is not my favorite of the characters. There are some other really good ones that I like more. I can be picky, right? All right. Power Rangers Volume 3 is out. This one features the Omega Rangers and Dracon. So don't miss this. This has been a really great run. It says, can the Omega Rangers and Dracon save the universe? Which is weird because Dracon was a bad guy. So obviously there's something more dangerous out there. This one collects Power Rangers 9 through 12 for you. We always sell out of our Power Rangers books. Kind of crazy. All right. There is a series of these awesome books, which you probably want to hunt down after you see this one. So these are made by the Smithsonian. This one's sea creatures. There's airplanes. There's dinosaur one. I can't remember all the other ones. Maybe they've got it. Let's see if they've got it listed. And it's a coloring book. Nope, they're not going to have all of them. But the cool thing that it has that I love so much is that it has the picture on it, which is a really detailed picture to color. And then on the opposite side, it has actual information. So you can learn stuff. And you can, if you're quarantined, you have something to draw on and enjoy very much. Okay. And, ooh, I love Epic Collections. Just know that Epic Collections, once they run out of the print run, it's so hard to get them to print it again. So if you ever see an Epic Collection that has stuff you like in it, totally buy that thing, because I know they've made them for Hawkeye and a bunch of other characters, Morbius and a bunch of the characters that are super hot right now. And don't miss out on them because they always have really cool stuff in it. So this one actually collects Moon Knight 5 through 23, which is a huge amount of stuff. It's all the stuff that came out from 1981 to 1982. If you've been trying to pick up these books as individual issues, you know how hard it is to get these daggum things. So hard. So also involves the characters of Morpheus, which everyone keeps on saying that is going to show up in the movies. So you want to know who in the world that is? When people keep on saying Morpheus, do you mean that guy from The Matrix? No, that's not who they mean. They don't mean that guy. So grab that up. They're also very thick. I know that they're like $40 books, but they're so worth it. Because if you're going to try to get these individual issues, it'd be more money definitely than these. And this is the Epic Collection of the Avengers Judgment Day, which collects together the Avengers 278 to 285, Annual 16, Marvel Graphic Novel 27, Emperor Doom, X-Men vs. the Avengers 1 through 4, and West Coast Avengers Annual number 2. This is all from 1987. So, to save the valiant Hercules, Avengers must storm the very gates of Olympus and take the entire pantheon of all-powerful Greek gods. Do our heroes stand a Snowball's chance in TARDIS? Then Magneto's on trial, and he needs all the help he can get. Man, he's always on trial, that dude. The X-Men aren't sure what his scheme is, but they're positive they don't want the Avengers and the Soviet super soldiers to find out before they do. It's a three-way warfare as the world watches, with a master of magnetism's freedom and a conscience as the prize. Plus, Jarvis stands alone. Dr. Doom conquers the world. Guest starring the West Coast Avengers. It's got everything. It's got all the people. And the other cool thing that's out this week, it's the previews. Previews are a great way to kind of like thumb through and see what is coming out. They are very much like, you remember the Sears catalog when you would have it and you'd be like, circle, I want this. There you go. Here's Good Boy. What does it say? It has a quote on this one. It has a quote from Donny Cates. What does Donny Cates say about Good Boy? He's so GD'd, pissed off. He didn't think of it first. So there you go. So it has little descriptions of books. It's helpful to go through and look at all of the super indies and make sure that those get onto your wish list. And just be aware that the Marvel catalog comes separately, and so does the DC one. So if you ask for previews from your local comic shop, make sure you get those other pieces to it, because they are very important and they're beautiful. And sometimes, weirdly, they say that these things are the first appearances of characters, because sometimes they put in like 3 or 4 pages of the book as a teaser. What? That what if is awesome. Okay. Okay, so there's really cool stuff in here, including the announcement of a Carnage return. Oh my gosh. Okay. So many good things in here. I can't even. Previews Mag is the best, BBB. It totally is. All right, and this one features on it We Have Demons, a new blockbuster series from superstars Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, which is so funny. I actually watched them on the stage at, I think, the Diamond Summit a few years ago when they were launching the Dark Knight's Metal storyline. And it was weird because I think that Scott Snyder had gone to the bathroom and Greg Capullo was talking by himself and waiting for him to come back. And he basically said that Scott Snyder writes stuff and then tries to give directions to Greg, and Greg tells him to shut up. It just says, let me draw and do my stuff. So it's a fun relationship between the two of them. I know that probably they can read each other's mind at this point. And Astro City is back to Image. How cool is that? How cool is that? So good. This is a reminder that we have lots of other cool shows that help you work your way through previews and decide what to put on your pull box. We have another show called Talking Shop that I do every Monday. You can just set your time for that. It runs from 4 to 5 Central or 5 to 6 Eastern, and always features creators that have things that are coming up that week. Or like we did this last week, we actually had heads or close to heads of companies talking about their entire company's lines, because we've talked to Charlie Stickney from Scout this week. We've talked to Mad Cave. We have a bunch of those interviews that help you look even farther forward and let you know what those companies think is important for their story, for their line. And also you get kind of a little bit of extra information about what's going on with them and what they're facing. Like you keep on hearing us say things about paper shortages. You're like, what in the world is that about? If you watch that one, there's a pretty good description about really what they're up against for trying to source paper for their books and trying to figure out release schedules and transportation. It just makes me even more happy when I see actual books arrive at the store, because I know how much trouble they were to get done. And it makes them more special to me, honestly, that feel like we're in the middle of some kind of like war. And it's like, we're going to get those comics to us no matter what, right? So I hope you guys have seen some stuff tonight on the show that you really like and you're interested in adding to your pulls. Make sure you get in connection with a local comic shop near you if you can. Supporting local comic shops is what keeps this whole thing going. And you can find one very easily by going to thecomicsshoplocator.com and putting in a zip code, and you can find ones that are near you, even if you're traveling. And also, if you go to previewsworld.com, it's connected to the previews. You can actually go through and it'll have full lists of what's releasing this week, what's releasing next week, having descriptions for you and some interviews. And they even have their own little videos they've been making for quite a long time, but are really nice, and love those too. So thank you so much for supporting us by your viewership. I love it that you're here. If you don't mind and can subscribe to us by mashing that subscribe button while we're on, I appreciate it so much. And anytime you you push the hearts and the thumbs up, it lets us know that we're doing what you guys like. Always connect with us if you want to have any suggestions for us. We love those too. And I hope to see you guys next week. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.